There was a time when the weekly shop felt like something you could trust. You knew the brands, you recognized the faces behind the counters, you understood what you were paying for and felt reasonably confident it was worth the money. The food on your table came from places you could picture, handled by people whose jobs meant something. That time has not simply passed, it has been deliberately dismantled. The British supermarket industry has spent the last 2 decades engaged in a quiet race to the bottom. Private equity firms buying up beloved names and loading them with debt. Pricing tactics designed to make you feel you are saving money while the opposite is happening. Food safety incidents that should never have occurred. Supply chains built on the exploitation of workers thousands of miles away. Today we are naming names. We have examined food standards reports, analyzed recall data, investigated supply chain practices, and looked at what real British shoppers are actually experiencing week after week, from the scandal that shook the nation to the everyday deceptions hiding in plain sight on every aisle. And at the end, 2 supermarkets that are genuinely still getting it right. Let us begin. Number 8. The Co-op. For over 175 years, the Co-op stood for something genuinely different. Community ownership, ethical trading, a supermarket that existed to serve its members rather than enrich distant shareholders. That heritage is real, and it deserves acknowledgement, which makes what has happened in recent years considerably more troubling. The Co-op has been quietly closing stores in poorer communities while keeping locations open in wealthier areas. Analysis by The Times found that between 2018 and 2023, the Co-op closed more stores in areas of high deprivation than any other major supermarket in the country. The communities that most rely on accessible local food shopping are precisely the ones being left behind. And then there is the pricing. Because the Co-op positions itself as a convenience store, it operates at a price premium that its ethical branding helps to obscure. A 2023 investigation by Which found that a basket of 48 common items at the Co-op cost £71.70 compared to £56.53 at Aldi. That is 27% more expensive for broadly equivalent products. Convenience stores will always carry a price premium. That is understood and accepted. But there is a meaningful distinction between a corner shop that charges more because it serves a genuine local need and a supermarket that markets itself as the ethical, community-focused alternative, while charging the poorest customers the highest prices in the areas that remain open after closing the stores in the areas where people needed them most. Ethical branding and ethical behavior are not always the same thing. The Co-op's gap between the two has been widening for some time. Number 7. Sainsbury's. There is a version of Sainsbury's that older shoppers remember with genuine fondness, a supermarket that felt trustworthy, that seemed to care about quality in a way that was visible in the products on the shelves and the service in the aisles. That Sainsbury's is increasingly difficult to find. In April 2024, Sainsbury's announced plans to cut 1,500 jobs. In the same period, Chief Executive Simon Roberts received a pay package of £4.9 million. The signal that combination sends about the company's priorities is not subtle. Sainsbury's has been systematically reducing shop floor staffing and replacing human expertise with self-checkout machines, steadily eroding the quality of the shopping experience that once set them apart. According to the British Retail Consortium, in-store staffing levels fell significantly between 2019 and 2024. The own brand situation deserves particular attention. In 2023, an investigation by the grocer found that several Sainsbury's own brand products marketed and priced as premium were actually produced in the same factories, using the same recipes as their budget range. Different packaging, 40% higher price. For older shoppers who have been loyal to Sainsbury's for decades based on a reputation for quality they trusted, that finding represents a betrayal that goes beyond a simple pricing complaint. Sainsbury's is not the British institution it once was. It has become a corporate operation that prioritizes the appearance of quality over its delivery and shareholders over the customers whose loyalty built the brand in the first place. Number 6. Asda. Asda's promise was always clear and honest. Save money, live better. A straightforward offer to British families watching every penny. For a long time, that promise was kept well enough that millions of households built their weekly routines around it. Since the acquisition by the Issa brothers and TDR Capital in 2021, something has shifted in a direction that is difficult to interpret charitably. In 2023, the Competition and Markets Authority found Asda among the worst offenders for misleading pricing practices. Products were advertised as on offer at discounted prices when they had never actually been sold at the supposed original price. That is not an administrative oversight. That is a deliberate misrepresentation designed to make shoppers believe they are saving money they are not saving. The food safety record has also raised serious concerns. In 2022, Asda recalled their own brand chicken products due to salmonella contamination. In 2023, their coleslaw was found to contain listeria. Further recalls, undeclared allergens followed. For anyone with a severe allergy, an undeclared allergen is not a labeling technicality. It is a potential life-threatening event. One such incident is unfortunate and can happen in any large food operation. A consistent pattern across multiple product categories and multiple years suggests something more systemic. The ownership question adds a further dimension. Since taking over, the Issa brothers have been accused of asset stripping the business, selling Asda's petrol forecourts to their own company, EG Group, loading the supermarket with debt while extracting value from the assets that underpinned it. Staff morale, according to multiple reports, including the Manchester Evening News in 2024, has fallen sharply, with employees describing an atmosphere shaped by cost-cutting so severe that it is affecting stock levels and basic store standards. When a supermarket begins prioritizing financial extraction over the families shopping there and the staff working there, the consequences reach every aisle. Number 5. Morrisons. Morrisons built its reputation on something that genuinely set it apart from every other British supermarket. It owned its own farms. It employed real butchers and trained fishmongers. It baked bread in store from scratch. It felt, in a way that was increasingly rare, like a supermarket that still took food seriously. Then private equity arrived. In 2021, Morrisons was bought by Clayton Dubilier and Rice in a £7 billion leveraged buyout. What followed has become a familiar pattern in British retail: massive debt loaded onto the company, petrol stations sold off, cost reductions pursued wherever they could be found. By 2023, The Guardian reported that Morrisons was carrying £6.6 billion of debt, the highest debt burden of any UK supermarket. That level of financial pressure does not produce investment in quality. It produces the opposite. Customer satisfaction scores that were once among the highest in the industry have fallen sharply. The Institute of Customer Service recorded one of the steepest declines in customer satisfaction for any major retailer between 2022 and 2024 at Morrisons. Former employees have described how in-store bakeries, once a genuine point of difference and pride, have largely become bake-off operations where pre-prepared frozen dough is heated rather than bread being made from scratch. The butcher counters staffed by trained professionals are being replaced with pre-packaged meat processed at central facilities. Morrison's was supposed to be the antidote to industrialized food. It built its entire identity on that distinction. What it is becoming increasingly resembles precisely what it once stood against. For the shoppers who chose Morrison's specifically because it felt different, that transformation is a genuine loss. Number 4, Iceland. Iceland markets itself as the budget-friendly answer for British families struggling with the cost of living. The slogan has been part of British cultural life for decades. Mums go to Iceland. The implication has always been that Iceland is on your side, that it understands financial pressure and responds to it with genuine value. The reality requires a more careful examination. Iceland's business model is built almost entirely on ultra-processed frozen food. Frozen food is not inherently problematic. Frozen vegetables, for instance, can be nutritionally excellent. But a 2023 analysis by the Food Foundation found that Iceland had the highest proportion of ultra-processed foods of any major UK supermarket, with over 75% of their entire product range classified as ultra-processed. For older adults who are particularly attentive to the health implications of diet, that figure should prompt a pause. The value proposition also deserves scrutiny. Iceland appears cheap, but when you analyze actual cost per kilogram, per calorie, and against genuine nutritional value, the picture changes. A 2024 investigation by Which found that a week's worth of Iceland ready meals for a family of 4 cost £87, while the same family could eat considerably more nutritious home-cooked meals, spending £64 on ingredients from Aldi. Iceland is not saving families money in any meaningful sense. It is selling them the convenience of not having to cook while charging them more than cooking would cost and delivering less nutrition in the process. On the environmental front, Iceland pledged publicly in 2018 to eliminate plastic packaging from its own brand products by 2023. Greenpeace reported in 2024 that the company had made virtually no measurable progress toward that commitment in the intervening 6 years. A public promise, made prominently, abandoned quietly. That pattern of behavior tells you something about how the company views its relationship with the people who trust it. Number 3, Tesco. £1 in every 3 spent on groceries in Britain goes to Tesco. That is not a figure that invites small observations. It is a level of market dominance that carries serious responsibilities toward the public it serves. Tesco has not always honored those responsibilities. The horse meat scandal of 2013 remains the most significant food fraud in recent British history. Tesco beef products were found to contain up to 29% horse meat. Not traces. Nearly a third of the product labeled as beef was something else entirely. Families who believed they were buying and serving beef were not. Tesco blamed suppliers and attempted to move past the incident quickly, but an investigation by The Guardian revealed that Tesco's sustained pressure on suppliers to deliver at the lowest possible price created precisely the conditions in which this fraud became possible. When you squeeze suppliers hard enough for long enough, something breaks. In this case, it was the integrity of the food chain itself. The health and safety record has also attracted formal regulatory attention. From 2016 to 2020, Tesco was fined £300,000 after admitting health and safety failings connected to the deaths of 2 employees in separate incidents. The health and safety executive found systemic failures in Tesco's safety management rather than isolated lapses. In 2024, Tesco was among the supermarkets investigated by the Competition and Markets Authority for potentially misleading shoppers with artificial promotional pricing during the cost of living crisis. At the precise moment when British families were under the most severe financial pressure in a generation, the country's largest supermarket stood accused of manipulating the appearance of savings to attract spending that the promotions did not genuinely justify. Market dominance does not produce trustworthiness automatically. In Tesco's case, the evidence suggests it has sometimes produced the opposite. Number 2, Lidl. Lidl has constructed one of the most effective pieces of brand positioning in modern British retail. The champion of British farming, the European efficiency model that saves families money without compromising on quality, the disruptor that forced the big supermarkets to compete on price. There is genuine substance behind parts of that story, but not all of it holds up. The British farming claim has attracted specific challenge. An investigation by Farmers Weekly in 2024 found that Lidl sources significantly less British produce than its marketing implies, with imported alternatives used more frequently than the prominent British flags on packaging would lead shoppers to believe. The quality control record is the more serious concern. Between 2022 and 2024, Lidl issued more product recalls than any other major UK supermarket, according to the Food Standards Agency database. These were not administrative labeling corrections. They included glass fragments found in baby food, metal contamination in salads, and undeclared allergens across multiple product lines. For older adults and for families with young children or members managing allergies, that recall frequency is not a statistic to be set aside. 1 or 2 recalls in a large food retail operation reflect the inherent complexity of managing thousands of products across complex international supply chains. A consistent pattern of being at the top of the recall table across multiple consecutive years suggests something more fundamental about quality control processes and the trade-offs being made to sustain the price points the business model requires. And number 1, the worst of all. Number 1, B&M bargains. B&M is not, strictly speaking, a supermarket. It is a variety discount store. But millions of British families have come to use B&M as a significant source of their food shopping, drawn by prices that appear to offer genuine relief from the cost of living pressures that have defined recent years. That is precisely why this entry matters and why it sits at number 1. A 2023 investigation by Trading Standards found that B&M had one of the highest rates of products past their best before dates still on shelves of any retailer in the United Kingdom. In 2024, the Food Standards Agency flagged B&M stores across multiple regions for serious hygiene concerns, with several locations receiving 1 or 2-star food hygiene ratings, the lowest scores a store can receive before being compelled to close. The business model itself is the core issue. Much of B&M's food inventory consists of surplus stock, end-of-line products, and items approaching their dates that other retailers have already declined to sell. The journey that food has taken before reaching a B&M shelf, through warehouses, multiple distribution points, and unknown storage conditions, is not the journey food should make before reaching your kitchen. Former B&M employees have described storage practices that include refrigerated items left unrefrigerated, stock rotation procedures ignored, and temperature controls monitored inconsistently at best. A 2024 survey by Which ranked B&M last for customer satisfaction among all UK retailers selling food, with particular concern expressed about freshness, food quality, and basic consumer trust. The families using B&M for food shopping are not doing so from preference. They are doing so because the cost of living has made conventional supermarket prices feel impossible. What B&M offers them in return is not a genuine saving. It is the bottom of the supply chain presented as a bargain at the expense of the very people who can least afford the consequences when something goes wrong. That is the definition of exploitation wearing a friendly price tag. Now, 2 supermarkets that are genuinely still worth your loyalty. Number 2, Marks and Spencer. Yes, M&S costs more. That observation is usually where the conversation ends, which means most people never hear the rest of the story. M&S has received the highest customer satisfaction rating for food quality of any UK supermarket for 8 consecutive years, according to the Institute of Customer Service. Not because of marketing, because of what is actually in the products and on the shelves. Their supply chain standards are among the strictest in the industry. Their product recall rate is one of the lowest. The major food safety scandals that have attached themselves to other names on today's list have not found their way to M&S. That is not good fortune. That is the result of maintaining standards that other retailers chose to reduce when the financial pressure came. M&S remains British-owned and has not been carved up by private equity and loaded with debt in the way that Morrisons and Asda have been. When you buy food at M&S, the premium you pay reflects genuinely higher standards at the source, not the servicing of debt taken on by a private equity firm that bought the brand in a leveraged deal. For everyday staples, M&S may not always make financial sense, but for fresh meat, quality prepared meals, and food where you want to know with confidence that standards have been properly applied, M&S remains one of the very few places in British retail where that confidence is justified. Number 1. Aldi. The contrast between Aldi and Lidl, which appeared at number 2 on the worst list, deserves direct acknowledgement because the two are routinely grouped together as though they are the same proposition. They are not. Aldi has been ranked the cheapest supermarket in Britain consistently across multiple independent assessments, often by significant margins. A 2024 analysis found that shopping at Aldi rather than a traditional supermarket could save the average British family approximately £1,500 per year. That saving is real, verified, and does not depend on loyalty cards, promotional codes, or timing purchases around offer cycles. The quality is equally real. Aldi has won more awards for product quality than any other budget supermarket in the country. Their fresh meat carries Red Tractor certification. Their fresh produce regularly outperforms premium supermarket equivalents in blind taste testing where the labels have been removed. Here is what distinguishes Aldi most clearly from the others. They have managed to sustain low prices without building that sustainability on exploitation. Aldi's supply chain practices have been ranked among the best in the British industry by Oxfam. They pay employees significantly above the minimum wage. According to the Food Standards Agency data, Aldi's product recall rate is among the lowest of any UK supermarket, comparable to M&S, but at a fraction of the price. Aldi is not perfect. The limited product range frustrates shoppers accustomed to extensive choice. The absence of major brands is a genuine adjustment for households with strong brand loyalties. But on the measures that matter most to older British shoppers who have seen standards decline across the industry for decades, honest pricing, genuine food quality, fair treatment of staff, and a recall record that reflects real quality control, Aldi is the only budget supermarket in Britain consistently delivering on all of them. Simultaneously, the uncomfortable truth is that the British supermarket industry has been in decline for some time. Private equity takeovers have loaded beloved names with debt and extracted value while reducing the standards that gave those names their meaning. Pricing practices have been designed to create the impression of savings rather than deliver them. Food safety incidents have accumulated at retailers where cost reduction has been pursued without sufficient regard for where those reductions ultimately land. But you are not powerless. Every purchase is a decision. Every week, you choose which standards to reward and which to decline to support. The two supermarkets at the top of this list prove that honest pricing, genuine quality, and ethical business practice are not incompatible. They are achievable. Some companies have simply chosen to achieve them, and others have chosen not to. The question is which choice you are willing to reward with your weekly shop.